Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and retiresharp.com. Today's topic I want to get over to you guys talking about rolling over your 401k to a new employer. So this is the individual that's been contributing to a 401k, qualified employer-sponsored retirement plan, and they are now either severed employment or they have a new company that took over that existing company, and they're trying to figure out, does it make sense for me to take my old 401k and roll that over into the new plan, that new employer? And the very basic components of this video is I want to explain to you the benefits of just taking the old 401k and why it's more advantageous to roll that over into a specifically designed IRA contract so that you could correlate that to either a growth goal, an income goal, a safety goal that typically works a lot better than your 5 to 20 different funds that you might have with your new employer 401k plan. So to take a step back, the things we understand about the 401k is it's set up through a private institution, and it's a qualified retirement plan, meaning that this is going to be known as a pre-tax retirement plan. So an individual is working for a company and they're making dollars from this company. They're paying them. This company says, okay, listen, we're going to cover your health insurance, we're going to cover your ancillary benefits, different things, and then also we're going to give you an offer to take a portion of your salary, what we're paying you, that you could then take that portion or a percentage of your salary and place it into a type of retirement bucket, a retirement account known as a 401k. So if this individual goes and makes $100,000 and they say, I want to place 10% of my salary, which is 10 grand, into this bucket, because it's pre-tax, they're taking their $100,000. They're getting a tax deduction off of the $10,000 that they contributed. So now you have $10,000 that's going into this bucket. So what determines whether or not this bucket is going to be growing at the end of that day, at the end of the year, is obviously the combination between the contributions that are being placed into this bucket and then also what the percentage rate that is tied to this bucket is going to come back as. So if this percentage rate is positive, well, then you're going to see the growth from the contributions and the growth from the gains are obviously going to have a larger bucket. If this percentage rate is negative, well, it didn't matter how much money you place into this account. If you have a minus 50% from this percentage rate, well, then it's as if that bucket got cut in half. You're going to have a smaller bucket at the end of the day, at the end of the year. So the way that this percentage rate works is it's tied to different investments. So you have, dependent upon your 401k plan, is going to have a mixture of stocks, bonds, mutual funds are going to be the most common types of plans in there. You might see little things like passive strategies, such as like a target date fund that says, if you're going to be retiring in the year 2040, it's going to be more aggressive in the beginning years. And then as, year 2020 comes around, it's going to be more conservative. Year 2030 comes around, it's going to be more conservative, meaning more bonds than stocks. And then when it comes time to 2040, it's going to be almost 100% into a conservative type fund as opposed to the more aggressive in those earlier years. So the bigger picture is how the heck, if I'm placing dollars aside into a retirement account, how the heck do I grow this money? And how do I pick the correct mutual funds in there? And my whole concept behind this is with 401k plans, it's an employer-sponsored retirement plan. They're not going and saying, okay, we're going to give you 3,000 different options. We're not going to give you hundreds of different options to choose from. We're going to make this very simple, and we're going to give you about 5 to 20 different mutual fund options to choose from that you could say, okay, based upon my risk tolerance, I could use target date funds, I could use conservative, I could use aggressive portfolios, depending upon what your plan administrator is, and try to really pick the best ones to give you the best chance to have a positive interest credit. The downside to this is they're going to have limited funding options between those 5 to 20, which is obviously going to be a lot less than if you use an individual retirement account that would have thousands of combinations of different options that you could choose. The other downside is you have a combination of 401k related fees, and if you're placing your dollars in the mutual funds, you're going to have those mutual fund related fees associated with that 401k. So when I'm saying fees, you have to think of this like a hole in the bottom of your bucket. That fee always has to be paid each and every year. So if your account doesn't gain anything, well, you're still paying that fee that you could have a negative into your account, even though there was just a sideways growth into the market, a sideways growth into your funds. If these were high quality mutual funds that were doing fantastic related to their benchmark index, then I would recommend say, okay, well, that's, the fee is justified. But what typically happens with these 401k plans is you have 5 to 20 different funding options, and then on top of it, excuse my language, you have shitty mutual funds that are in those 401k accounts. So when somebody, and let me clear off the screen real quick. So the mistake that's made is an individual was accumulating their dollars into a 401k account with a company, with let's call it company A. They severed employment, they left, and now they went over to company B, and they say, oh, well, I still have a 401k account that's sitting there. So what I'm just going to do is take my 401k monies and roll it over or transfer it into the new 401k plan. Well, all you did was you just subjected yourself to those same 401k related fees and those crappier mutual funds to choose from with the new plan. They might be a little bit better than company A, but ultimately it's still going to be those limited funding options and crappy mutual funds or crappy funding options that are available to you. So the whole concept and the whole point of this video is saying, well, you could take what this 401k account is, what this existing 401k account is, and because you severed employment, this now makes you eligible to roll over into a specifically designed traditional IRA account. So depending upon where you are currently, like if you're in your 30s, you may want to set this up more on a growth strategy of saying, okay, I want actively managed funds to place my IRA into, rather than placing it into just limited 5 to 20 different funds that I'm going to have over in this 401k. I want to have thousands of different combinations that correlate specifically to what my risk tolerance is, and make sure that they're really good quality, so that if I'm paying any sort of fee towards this new traditional IRA, that fee is justified because historically it's shown to do really well. It's actively managed. I have an advisor that's basically looking over it as well. So when you roll it over into the new 401k, you're basically just subject to that new plan, to those limited options. When you roll it over to traditional IRA, you can make it more specific, and you have thousands of different combinations. So it's just more eggs, thousands of eggs to choose from, as opposed to 15 to 20 different funds to choose, different eggs to choose from. So that's the most simplistic version of why it makes more sense to roll it over into a traditional IRA as opposed to the new 401k. Now, one of the first rebuttals is saying, oh, well, if I move my 401k, I'm going to get penalized for doing so. And no, that's the whole reason why you're doing a rollover, is it's a qualified retirement account with this 401k, and you're rolling it over. You're just changing the name from a 401k into a traditional IRA. So this is the traditional IRA is another qualified retirement account. So it's not showing as if you took your 401k monies and threw it into your checking account. That's when you're going to get penalized. That's when you're going to get taxed on it, because you're taking it from one chassis, from one bucket, and you're rolling it over into a similar bucket. That's what's going to prevent that taxation, that penalty. So that's why it makes sense to do that rollover. When you do the transfer, all you're doing is a 401k to a 401k transfer. It's going like to like. And when you do the rollover, it's going like to like, qualified to qualified. So I hope that all of that makes sense. So then you have the second rebuttal out there, and it says, well, what about my match? And one of the key benefits of a 401k plan is the dollar that you're placing aside into that bucket. When you're taking a portion of your salary and you say, okay, I'm working for this company, one of the incentives for the company for you to place your dollars into their 401k plan is to provide you a match, to keep you at this company. So sometimes, as like an example, let's say if somebody is making $100,000 with company A and company B wants to bring them over and they're now making $102,000, company A could say, oh, we're giving you $100,000 and then we're also giving you a 6% match on your 401k. So therefore, you understand that you're getting free money towards your retirement, and this is an incentive for the company to keep you there. So when you have your old 401k, let's say the same example, this person is going and they have $100,000 and they have, we're just going to call it for easy math, a 5% match. What this says is anything up to that 5% is going to get placed into that bucket, and now you're going to have both of those contributions that are going to try to grow this bucket larger and larger. So in this example, if this person put in $10,000 and they made $100,000, they would have put in $10,000. The company would have matched what? 5%. Which is $5,000. Now you have $15,000 that's working in that bucket. If this person placed in $5,000, well, that's the match. The company's going to place in what? $5,000. So it's the match up to that specific limit. If this let's say this person puts in $3,000. Well, that's only 3%. So therefore, they put in $3,000. The company's only going to match them $3,000. They're not going to get the full 5 because they didn't put in the full 5. So understand that this is all free money that's now going into the funds, now going into those types of accounts, and it's an incentive to keep the good employees over at that specific company and to prevent them from going over to other companies. Sometimes you have a vesting schedule, you have all these different things with the 401k. So one of the other rebuttals from taking the 401k and rolling that over into an IRA is that individual thinks, oh, well, if I just transfer that over to the new 401k, I'm just going to be having that much more match money. And that's incorrect, because let's say if you had $100,000 in your old 401k and you were getting a 5% match, and now your new company is giving you a 5% match, right? It doesn't matter if you take this full account value and then you roll it over to the new company, because you're not getting a match on your overall account. You're only getting a match on what you're contributing. So if you go and you take this $100,000, you roll it over into a specifically designed IRA contract, now you have more eggs in your basket, you have a higher growth potential, you have lower, potentially lower cost of fees. If you're setting up that contract the right way, you could have a safety play, you could utilize like a whole slew of different options available, as opposed to the 5 to 20 different new 401k related options with that new plan. So if you go and you take $100,000 and you're placing it into the new employer, well, now your bucket's sitting at $100,000. Your 5% is going in there, $5,000. They're going to match you $5,000. Well, $10,000 is going into the bucket. If you took this old 401k, put it into the new IRA, and you just started off the new 401k plan, well, you would have put in $5,000 into your bucket, and $5,000 is now going into your bucket. So it's still going to be $10,000. It's just now you're starting off from zero and you're preserving those old monies in a more efficient manner. So I hope that makes sense. It's not like you're getting, when you get a match on your 401k, it's not on the overall account value, it is only on your contribution. So I hope that makes sense. Now, the reason why that's beneficial, when you go and you leave your company, you're starting with the new company, now it allows you to leverage your 401k and roll it over to an IRA. You're not allowed to just randomly say, okay, well, I'm in my 30s, I'm in my 40s, let me go and take my 401k and roll that over into an IRA just because I feel like doing so. You have to play by the rules of that 401k plan. The rules of that 401k plan say, well, you could have a qualifying event such as a termination of employment that will allow you to then roll that money over into an IRA. And that's why 9 times out of 10, an individual should be going and rolling those monies over into a new IRA contract. Now, the benefits behind it kind of correlate to the benefits of an overall financial plan. With financial planning, you want to make sure that 3 avenues are always covered. Typically, these 401k monies are going to be meant for retirement income later on. So when it comes to retirement planning, you want to make sure that you have guaranteed income sources. You could leverage that through the form of a specifically designed IRA contract. You want to make sure that your money, that you have emergency funds, if you ever come to an oh my gosh moment, that you could always pull from a specific account. You could set that up with a specifically designed IRA contract. And then also that last one is you want to have inflationary protection. As the cost of goods and services are increasing, you want to make sure that your account is being most efficient, most effective on a growth strategy. You could set up a specifically designed IRA contract for that. That's not saying that there's like a one size fits all. Okay, IRA that's doing all those different things, you want to splice them up specifically to be most efficient. So you could have 5 different IRA contracts from the same $300,000 old 401k rollover to make sure that they're all doing a specific process, a specific leveraging component, so that it makes the most sense to do so. Then that's where we come in, is we try to help you guys out, figure out what your goals are, where you're at currently. If you're in your 30s, there's going to be an entirely different plan than if you're in your 50s. If you're in your 60s, it's going to be an entirely different plan than if you're in your 40s. So it all is going to correlate to the area that you're in currently, what you want to do in retirement. Is that to just do an inheritance maximization? Is that to try to do max income planning, to try to just grow your account on an effective basis and just pull off the interest each and every year? There's a whole slew of different things, but you have to look at the 30,000 foot view, and this is what we try to do, is explain that 30,000 foot view to you. Say, this is your overall plan. This is where you currently are at point A. This is where you want to get to at point B. What you're doing might get you there successfully, or it might not. If it's not, then these are some different gaps in your plan, And this is how we suffice those gaps to make sure it's like a perfect puzzle piece that's going to be set up with all these different layers. They're going to fit in properly. So you're going to have pure confidence in retirement. We're A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. It's because of our methodical process. At any point in time, make sure to please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you have access to the most updated videos. I hope you found value in this video. When calling over to our agency, we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you would speak to an assistant, tell them, say you saw a video online, you want to speak to a specialist, and they'll make sure to transfer you over properly. But thank you so much, guys, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon.